awake. This is Mr. Senior Love Daddy, your voice of choice. The world's only 12-hour strong man on the air. And that's the truth, Root.
Welcome to Bennington.
I don't know where I'm going from here, but I promise I won't bore you.
I want you to take your hand out of that bowl of Fritos, throw away your National Enquirer, and pick up the phone. Go ahead, pick it up. Talk radio. It's the last neighborhood in town. People just don't talk to each other anymore.
You would be very lucky if in your whole life you saw the work of one genius.
The form of the tragic autobiography is dead. Goodbye, written word. So I have chosen this form, radio, to author my life.
Hashtag Bennington.
This is Mr. Senior Love Daddy doing the nasty to your ears to the nasty. Eyes only play the platters that matter, the matters they platter. And that's the truth.
We started off a little bit. It is Bennington, 866-766-0339. I'm Ron Bennington. With me, as always, Gail Bennington, no relation. You were at this show last night.
I was. It was amazing.
Where was the show at?
Terminal 5. just kind of a weird venue. It's really big, but it's kind of got like a weird club vibe to it.
Well, the band itself is kind of really big, but with a weird club vibe to it. Don't you think? They are so strange.
The lead singer's a weird guy, and I think that's what makes...
Who? Young Marlon Brando?
Yes.
Here's who he looks like. He looks like 1954 Marlon Brando, when Marlon Brando would wear, like, Mary Tyler Moore workout clothes. You know what I mean? Like, remember when there was this thing, if you would see, like, Mary Tyler Moore during the Dick Van Dyke era, where she would wear the black on black scene? What is that material called?
I'm not sure what it is.
It breathes. I'm not going to lie to you about that. Look, there's producers just going, what is that material called? Jesus. Jesus, we got it. So it's early in the morning, and we're playing Future Islands, and that is just called Waiting... Seasons Waiting on You. There's like seasons, and then like
I've been waiting on you.
Yeah, this is the part that what it should be called. So,
that's always what's in the parentheses.
Yeah.
Just a helpful reminder of what actually should be the cue there.
Yeah, not Bob O'Reilly, because that's a fucking nutty name. But why that song was playing? Now, this singer, and I don't even know his name, but
Samuel Herring?
Yeah, but they call him Young Marlon Brando.
True.
So his deal is, that he does this crazy dance. So we started doing the crazy dance as we were listening to it, but I morphed it into the Hulk Hogan thing, but slower. And then I'm like, why hasn't anyone ever done that in a video?
It totally works.
Would be the best thing ever. All right, so that's cool. Coming in this morning, beautiful snow, and then Gail and I saw some guy bite it in the revolving door. As he tries to go through the revolving door here, he just slips and falls down, and there's no one on the street, and then he leans up and looks at us like he's mad at us. And the weird thing is, we didn't dare laugh for some reason, and then we just averted our eyes. I didn't see anything.
And the worst part, we were mid-sentence, be like, this is a beautiful day.
Gorgeous. Gorgeous.
Why was he so mad at us?
Because you ever see a little kid will do something and then he gets mad at the people who look at him for doing it.
There's nothing worse than falling when you're...
No, when you're an adult, you cannot fall, and there's no respectability for it at all. It's like if you fuck up your parallel parking, you just want to kill anyone near you. Just fuck you! I'm drunk! I can park, I'm just drunk right now. That's what he had. He had that thing on. He had that look about him, but he was furious that we saw this take place.
I fell off of a bike rack once on my first day of middle school, starting a new school, and I was just on the ground on my back just being like, I need to find a new school. I need to get out. I
want out of here. Now, what were you doing on a bike rack to begin with?
I was trying to be cool. I was talking to some boys, and I hopped up on the bike rack I do this all the time. Just sit up here. It's what I used to do at my old school. So embarrassing. And everyone was outside, and even for some reason the principal was outside, and everyone came running. Sure. It would have been better if everyone had laughed, but everyone was just really concerned.
You should have yelled out, "I'm drunk." I don't listen to the DARE program. Or as I like to say about DARE, dare me to smoke this motherfucker.
That's pretty cool.
And they were like, this is a PTA meeting. I don't know why. You personally weren't around when DARE happened. You're supposed to be a dad now.
DARE wasn't too effective, I don't think.
Nothing is ever effective. It's right up there with the Southern and Midwest fathers that try to marry their daughter so they won't have sex in another 11 years.
Oh, God.
So wait, let me get this straight. You're my husband and my dad? This seems worse than me going out and meeting a Puerto Rican. That was my impression of a little kid in the Midwest.
That was good.
Yeah, it was a lot like my DARE dad.
Similar voice.
can they just, what about the weekends? Can the kids drink then? That's the dumb dad that I'm now working on. I do a lot of characters. Anyone who came to the Robert Kelly Unmasked, where Fez and I did a sketch before the show, would know that. By the way, the Unmasked is going to run today on Raw Dog starting at 2 o'clock, but then it plays tonight this is the cool thing here on Opie Radio. The Robert Kelly Unmasked is playing tonight at 11 o'clock, and then the second that's over, you can turn over and watch it on Comedy Central. Nice. And it replays again Sunday at 11 a.m. But it's a really, really great Unmasked. It's Robert Kelly. It's his time. There's a couple of clips up over on the Interbank today and a nice story about it. But I'm kind of really excited for him because he laid this thing out. This is who Bobby Kelly started with. Patrice, Bill Burr, Louis C.K., right. Dane Cook. And Bobby's at a point where can now I become the biggest comedian on the planet? The guys that he has to compare himself to is not fair. And I'm yeah, but you're on the 27 Yankees. He's yeah, but not always in the game. I got a ring, but not everybody remembers me.
Is he rough on himself about it?
Yeah, all comedians are rough on themselves. All comedians are terrible to themselves when they're not being way too good to themselves. You know what I mean?
It's one or the other. Comedians,
like alcoholics, think of themselves as the most fantastic, precious pieces of shit you've ever seen. So there's a really great story and a couple clips up on it, but that's Robert Kelly Unmasked today at 2 on Raw Dog, and then throughout the whole weekend. And then tonight here on Opie Radio at 11 o'clock and tomorrow at 11 a.m. Now, Opie came down to the show, as he said to me, I'm here to support Bobby. Oh, and you. And I'm yeah, because this is the first time I've ever done one of these. Oh, no, I'm thinking this is the first time I saw you at one of these. He came to Jim Norton's, Bob Newhart's, and Bobby Kelly's. And I take it as that's his 3 best friends. But this was favorite people. This was a great moment. E-Rock, I wish you were there for all the shit that you take. Because, so I'm sitting there talking to Ope, and a guy comes up and he says to Ope, can I get a picture of you? I'm a fan, but my brother is really a fan. My brother's a fan. And it's one of those things where someone compliments you, but it feels like shit. Yeah. And then I'm sitting there laughing like I just saw him slip trying to come in through the door But isn't it weird when people try to give that compliment to people and it's just shite?
It's the worst. Just don't say anything.
Just say nothing.
Just don't.
Just take a picture from a distance.
Yeah. Or just be there at the moment and then let the moment pass.
When I see a celebrity, I always come up and go like this, can I do a quick drawing of you? Don't move.
Just a quick portrait.
Yeah. Open your shirt. Yeah. Let's see some of that beast hair. I'm with my family in a meeting. I guess that was Jim Gaffigan. I asked for that. I'm having a hot pocket.
Have you ever stopped a celebrity to say something to them, or do you always just let them go?
I let them go, but sometimes on the street I'll just say something crazy. I'll normally say you look like $1 million.
Nice.
So, what's Roseanne's husband's name? The TV husband.
John Goodman.
John Goodman, yeah. Okay. So I'm walking down the street and John Goodman's coming the other way and he's already in an outfit like he's shooting something, and I just see he's zoned and, and I'm just walking by and I don't break stride and I go like this. You look like $1 million, John. He goes like this. Thanks, pal. And I'm like, did I just talk to Babe Ruth?
Thanks.
How about you? Do you ever bother anybody on the street?
I once in a while I'll say hey. I'll just say hello to them.
Right.
I'll say their name and say hey.
Yeah.
But I think the only time I really ever stopped someone and was like, I don't do this, was Philip Seymour Hoffman. And I was pretty young at the time.
Oh, well, then that helps. How old were you?
Like high school age.
Okay. And what'd you say to him?
Well, I thought that it was okay because I had just seen a play he directed. So I felt like that was a cooler thing to say rather than just be like, I like you in all the movies you're in and you're great. So
you're extreme, man.
So I felt like I could be like, great play the other night. Great job. You did a great job. You know what I mean? Like I felt like I was saying something cool and he was there with his like newborn and he was being really nice, but kind of I could see he was just kind of looking over at his chick and his baby being like, oh God, get me out of here. But I'll let you go now, but I just wanted to say hello and thank you for all you do. Just, God, why did I do it?
Meisner? Are you using Meisner? Is that how you get there? Is it about timing? Do you believe you're the character?
Oh my God. And I just I had that feeling of I know that I should get out of this, but I didn't know. Oh, well, there's the fam. And all right, well.
Have you ever been with somebody who bothered somebody, then you're next to them?
Oh God, yeah, it was horrible. I wish I could remember exactly. I think I was at a comedy show, and who's the guy who was Mac, like Mac and PC? What's that guy?
Oh yeah, he's done the show before. He was Justin Tusk. Justin Long,
right.
Yeah.
So,
by the way, #Bennington can't remember anybody's names.
No.
The whole family.
This is a real problem.
He's president, like a black dude? He's laid back.
Like the current president.
All right, so
but I can't think of his name.
Are you young again, or is this...
Yeah,
okay.
I'm in college.
Okay.
And I feel like at this point, Mac and PC wasn't a thing. And
was a giant, yeah.
Wasn't even a thing.
Wasn't even on.
No,
yeah.
I don't think that had even started. And I don't really think he was in much.
Yeah.
But I was with a guy who was like a friend of a friend, and he saw him in the crowd, and he just started going, hey, Jeepers Creepers, Jeepers Creepers, man, hey, Jeepers Creepers, which was a movie he was in, like a scary movie, I guess. And he was so sweet because he was just kind of excited that someone
knew him. Yeah.
So he was really nice about it. But I was just sinking into the ground, just oh God. But he just kept yelling Jeepers Creepers and only calling him Jeepers Creepers.
Oh, jeez.
All right, Jeepers Creepers. Yeah, man. It was fucking horrible.
Yeah, that was crazy.
It was just really cringy.
I got a topper for you. So we were doing an Unmasked downtown, and this is years ago. And Eastside Dave McDonald, is part of our squad. And we were doing it at a club, and it's down on 14th Street. And we're just, a couple of us are standing out front. The Unmasked is going to start in a few minutes. Walking down the street is Sir Paul McCartney.
Oh my God.
And he's just walking along, and everybody we're with just did that. You just hold your breath for a second until Paul McCartney walks by, because it's not like, oh, I'm going to go see Paul McCartney and then you get to see him. Just like if Paul McCartney just walked through here now, it's going to weird you out. So we all just sat there, and he goes by us, and we're watching him walk down, and he starts across the road. And Eastside Dave comes walking out, and we all just laugh, and we go, dude, you just, miss Paul McCartney. And he goes, where? And we go, that's him crossing 14th Street. And he starts to run at him, right?
Oh, no.
And Dave is very athletic. People don't even understand that. And he's very fast. But he has a crazy 1930s trot. Like his knees are up at his armpits. And he's fucking flying at Paul McCartney. And we're just like... No, we're freaked the fuck out, and he runs up on him like it's nothing, and you see Paul start to stutter backwards a little bit.
Oh God!
But almost in an old man teeter,
oh,
man, and I just want to yell at Dave, His friend was murdered in this city.
I know. Why would he do that?
Because he's nuts.
That was the first thing I thought of before he even said he was running.
Yeah.
I was like, I hope he didn't say anything too scary.
No,
to run at a person is terrifying.
And then Dave came back, and all he said to me was, "I got him. I got him." And so I know he didn't take a picture or get an autograph, so I guess he has a list in his head of celebrities he's startled.
I got him right here.
Oh, I got him. Don't worry. Did you see my high-knee trot? This fucking trot. It looked like he was running against Jesse Owens. It was the weirdest run that he has, but it's incredibly fast.
God, that's a really scary story.
I know. Everything with Dave is.
Maybe one time somebody might have yelled at Jeremy Piven in a moving vehicle, but I don't know.
Oh yeah, we did that to Jeremy Piven. So we were out in L.A. and we were driving down the road and we see Jeremy Piven. And now, see, here's the thing with our family: we tend to repeat a lot of movie lines at each other all the time.
Yes.
So Jeremy Piven, despite the large amount of work that he's done, is only known to us from "Where's Our Boy?"
Where's our boy?
What was that? It was
Gross Point Blank.
Yeah, Gross Point Blank. It's a throwaway line in Gross Point Blank. So he's driving next to us, and I've got the whole fam in the rented, SUV, and I pull over, so we're like 6 minutes from, and then which one of us was yelling? It was
me.
You're in the back seat yelling, "Where's our boy?" So he gets the Paul McCartney thing, is scared, and then when he gets it, he goes, "Oh yeah."
So horrible. I don't know why we did it to him.
Just to fuck around.
And this is also pre-Entourage, too.
Yeah.
So it's probably like a kind of a weird line in a weird movie to pick.
I think if you even pulled out Gross Point Blank quotes, it's probably not up there. Like if you went to the IMDb quotes. But the weird thing is like, it was always like, I was fucking around all the time, and then Gail was screwing around all the time, but her mom and her brother were just very nice, perfectly reserved people, and all the time, like when we would vacation and shit, Gail and I would just pretend that we were from England or some other characters when we had a waitress, and those two would just sit there and not even look up from the menu.
We'd have to order for them because they didn't want to ruin the bit,
right.
But they didn't want to be a part of it.
Right. So our bits would always be like, "Do you have any ticky talks and those slimy things?" You would be like really little doing that. And then, see, here's this is always the funny thing. So I don't know why we didn't do it on like normal time, but vacations, you and I always got weird. But you would be like 5 or 6 and you would love the bit, but then you would be far too big into exposition. So you would start, "We just arrived here from London, England. Coming over." It's just like, easy if she's going to buy this. Like where the Beatles live and the Rolling Stones. And your mom and your brother wouldn't even look up. They'd just be like, "Fuck this." No. And then the other bit that we always did is like wherever we were driving, if there was a toll gate, like we'd be in New Jersey or something, and we were like, the toll gate, every time that I would pull up and they were giving me a ticket, I'd go, "Where do I park?" And they would go, "What?" "For the show." And I would always make them think that it was a parking lot. And like you would be yelling stuff out, and then there's your mom and your brother just looking out the other side, not even slightly enjoying any of the fun.
You'd be like, "This is where we pull in for Disney? Just right here? This is fine." Most of the time, they would not even respond. They would just like kind of shake you off and be like,
"Park right there.
Okay, yeah,
Park right there if you want." I don't give a fuck. This is nice. It's like my funeral. These are the stories you'll be telling at my funeral.
Yeah, definitely.
First, you'll be like this. You'll be like looking both ways on the sidewalk going, "Didn't you think more people would come?"
No, that's terrible. That won't happen.
I hope. hope.
Because you'll never die.
Do me a favor and turn some people away.
I will. You want me to make a list for you?
Oh, it's a short list. Watley.
I'm sorry. You can't come in.
Oh, I'd rather you just scream, "This is your fault." And start trying to scratch him.
You did this to him.
You sick son of a bitch.
You ill-begotten son of a bee.
Who's going to speak there? Would you speak? Do you do like...
Sure.
But do me a favor, do about an hour and a half.
Hour and a half?
Yeah, I really want everything,
I was thinking 15.
No.
Hour and a half, that's a lot.
Yeah.
I'll do it, though, if that's what you want.
Let me point this out for you, too. When you start to cry, they'll go. So,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
break a few times.
Yeah, you definitely want to... You want to bring them up, take them down. Keep them down.
Keep them down. Put the knee on their throat and push down. What if you looked up and you saw Eastside Dave at my funeral and he's sitting next to Paul McCartney?
Oh,
it's
my
almost
God.
like everyone you've ever had a story with.
Like Big Fish.
And you'd just be like, oh, God, you too. It all worked out.
I'd say he got him. He got him.
You got him, Dave. Oh, I got him, Mr. B. I got him. What the things that would make that guy proud?
Have you ever given a eulogy before?
I don't like to go to weddings and funerals. You know?
Yeah.
I always send a text, like, sorry for your loss.
Sure, that's nice.
And I'll just say, read this at the funeral. No, I've never given a eulogy. It's because I'm Catholic, so growing up, when any of my friends died, the priest would just do it.
Oh, right. They don't really do that as much.
No, they don't like a lot of people standing on the altar. You got to work to get up there, you know? Or for whatever reason, be an 11-year-old boy. And then they get to wander around up there and do everything.
The last funeral I went to, the priest didn't know the guy, and it was very awkward because it was like he was really struggling up there.
Right.
And he just started to do some crowd work. And he was just
Where
like...
are you from?
He's like, so tell me about him. Was he funny? Did he like to cook? What was his favorite color? And then it was just silent. Like, who's going to speak up? It was really, really bad.
Well, they're awful people when you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, look, if I'm going to have a guest come in here, I'm going to research a little bit.
Sure.
If I was doing a eulogy, you ever been at one of those things that the priest will say his name wrong? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
He was doing that same exact thing. And that's exactly what I said.
Yeah.
To the person next to me, I was like, he couldn't have made a call.
Yeah, check around a
just
little
like
bit.
did a little research.
Why didn't you start heckling like this is why we've abandoned the church?
And I guess that's the thing. It's like it's not like this guy was religious, and then I guess that's where you have a funeral.
Right, that's the problem.
That's where you have a service.
Right.
So then it's going to be like some dude who doesn't have any connection.
That's terrible. Maybe you should really just have it at a bar where it used to be like a wake.
Yeah.
And like you're sitting trying to talk about, but you can hear like, people shooting pool and stuff.
Yeah.
You know,
They
like,
actually had a party for him just before the funeral that was like that.
Yeah.
The night before. And that was actually like the real thing where everyone got to, talk about.
Well, like when your grandfather was little, they used to have the wakes in the house.
Yeah. We should probably go back to that. Seems more...
A lot of people don't even want someone to bring a cat over, though, so they're not going to be freaked out by a dead body.
Right, that's true. But it seems like I think we should take it back, Take back the...
Well, the Irish, even the Irish in this country, the buddies would steal the body. And the night before, so they would go, and whether it was a funeral parlor at the house, and take the stiff out. Normally, ride around, drink with them, and maybe take them to a bar, and just, as they said, have one last drink. And it was almost like a bachelor party now. So they would go to the young men. Don't you do it? Don't you do it? And then everybody would do it, so you could have that weird story later. But now we've made death a very distant thing.
I actually saw a really cool documentary. Really cool rockumentary.
Yeah.
I wish I could remember the name of it, but it's basically how funerals became, commercialized, and there are a movement of people who are trying to kind of do more personal services and then, bury their own. And it's kind of weird because obviously there's like two different groups who are kind of into it. There's like kind of hippy dippy kind of people who like want to be like, this is our experience and we're going to grieve the way we want to. But then the other group is like real homesteaders.
Right.
Because they are like, we don't go to the outside world for anything. So why would we have this body embalmed, and we make our own caskets, and we bury them on the farm? It's kind of weird because it's two very, very different groups.
A lot of those people, like the homesteader type people, they're just like hippies with guns, though. I mean, they have like long hair and stuff. They just
and they're into nature, and they're in tuned with
But then if someone comes around, they just want to blast them.
Right, that's the only difference.
That's the big thing. There's not a lot of peace and love. I don't know. Do you remember when you were a little girl and we brought your aunt home to die?
Yeah.
Well, when that happened, I guess a lot more people are doing that now than back then. But I remember that everybody I worked with and all was like freaked out.
Yeah.
And they were like, are your kids freaked out? I'm like, but that was their aunt. You know what I mean? Like, they're not upset. Maybe you are upset about it. I don't know.
No. I wasn't.
Maybe now. I should check with you. Was that another awful thing?
No, I think
I should apologize for?
No, I think all my feelings about death and what happens in death was completely formed during that time. Because I must have been, I don't know, what was I, like 9?
Something
maybe
like, I never,
9 or 10.
I never know your age at any age.
Right. 5.
Yeah.
as I am now. But I think that what she was going through, that sort of transitional phase that she was going through of being halfway into death.
It's really true.
I think it informed me completely about how I feel about it.
Yeah, because it was a long long process. Well, it's your mom's aunt, and your mom, I guess, went to the home or whatever, and then she called me up. She said, "I don't like this whole thing. Can I just bring her our house?" I'm like, sure, because like always, I never think about anything. I didn't think how open-ended it was.
Right.
Like for me, in a way, at first, I'm like, I think she's going to get better. I think she's going to rally out of this and get better. And she really was. It was the strangest situation where, and I mean, she was elderly and had a great life and everything, but all of her sisters were able to come over to our house, and she was still conscious then, and it was just little by little it wore down. But I remember that a lot of times, even when she kind of started to just go to sleep and stay asleep, we would just sit in that room and read and stuff like that, and you guys would be little and you'd be playing and stuff.
Well, there was like almost a very like peaceful but strangely like creative present. I can't explain it.
No, I know what you mean, dude.
Like it was not unsettling to be around her at all. It's like that she was almost like radiating something. Like
you could say that, but I also remember, now this sounds crazy, and I know I've never talked about it before, but there was this energy in the upper left-hand corner of the room. You know what I mean? Like that stayed up. It just felt like there was a certain energy, and even though the whole thing just felt really great, and then after she was gone, that energy was also gone. Yeah. Everything that we felt about it.
Well, she was always checking in with someone or many people. Right. She was always...
And she looked up...
She was always speaking, to someone, or she would kind of make reference to people and like look past you.
Yeah.
And like past and above you a little.
Yeah.
And it was a really bizarre...
Well, I think the reason why you guys were like, you kids were like, because the way your mom is with that, so it's just like accepting, like, yeah,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like she would be saying, this is the thing that was really weird, and I'd forgotten about that until you're talking about it. But she wasn't bringing up anyone recent, you know? No, she was like much older, and she would bring up her mom and her dad and her own aunts and uncles and stuff. All people who had deceased years before.
Yeah.
Now, you know, spiritual people would just say, yes, those people were in the room. Some scientific people would say something about as the brain starts to go, different memories pop up. But either experience seems to be pretty exhilarating, you know?
Yeah, I think that's kind of the way I see it. It's like it's either you can look at it in a spiritual way or you can look at it in a completely like scientific way, but both of those things are pretty like magical.
Right.
Like
they really are
in itself. So
even at the very least, you could say to yourself, "This is the way the universe works."
Yeah.
You know. Now, here's the weird thing: why would anyone want to keep kids away from that, or why would you not want to have that in the home if you could? You know what I mean?
Right.
Why wouldn't you want to have that as, you know, part of your memories? You know?
Yeah.
Because we only have, you know, fond memories. But for me, and I've been with a couple people when they died and stuff, the strangest experience is the body. The first thing I thought with your aunt was, it just feels like she left her jacket behind. You know what I mean? Like, it did not feel like her anymore in the bed.
Yeah.
But it felt like she left something, you know, behind.
Right.
It was very, very weird. But the oddest part of that is I had to, after, you know, we did everything and hospice come over and they take all the stuff and all, is I had to go MC an Eddie Money concert.
Did you?
Yeah.
I didn't remember that.
You guys didn't come with me. It was the birthday party for the radio station. So I went over and everybody's like, "Hey, where have you been?" And I told them. They were all like weirded out by it. And then this is the strange. So it was a beautiful day in Florida, right? And then the strangest thing is the car comes up backstage and it's Eddie Money and his kids are little at the time, and they're each wearing like goofy ears, like, because they just come straight from Disney. You know what I mean? Like they tied their Tampa concert in with the, you know, taking the kids there, and everything just felt like buzzing to me. It's like if I could keep the feeling that I had that day, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like people would probably, you know, come up and ask me for advice and shit. You know?
Well, I think it was like a very connected time.
Yes.
That's what it felt like. It's like that. We were somehow being able to experience it with her, even just on a very superficial level. But
do you remember what I said to you and your brother when your aunt passed away? I took you both in the other room and I go like this: "What did you do? What did you do?
You had one job."
By the way, it's hashtag Bennington. Hashtag Bennington if you want to pass anything along to us. There's a comedy club crawl. Is that what it'd be called? I don't think that one's ever even existed before. It's a Parkinson's Comedy Club pub crawl. And it's for the Light of Day charity organization that helps fight Parkinson's. Now, these guys are all going to be going from one club to another doing their stand-up all on the same night. 6:30 at night, it's the New York Comedy Club. 9 o'clock is Stand Up New York. And at 11 o'clock is the Village Underground. Listen to this crew. Rick Shapiro, Artie Lang, Robert Kelly, Todd Barry, Rich Voss, Big J. Okerson, Greer Barnes. I can't follow Greer Barnes. Mike Pacchetti, Kurt Metzger, Bonnie McFarlane, Godfrey, Mike Vecchione, Joey Gay, Shane Forbes. Now, you could go to each of the shows, or there's another ticket where you can follow them along. 6:30 is New York Comedy Club, Stand Up New York at 9 o'clock, Village Underground, 11 o'clock, and all the information is up on the interrobang.com because I don't have the ticket thing on here, but if you go over to the interrobang.com, they can give you the ticket pieces. But I've never heard of anybody doing this before. Have
That's
you?
very cool. It's a
real
great group too.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal group. Like it's like just a cast of headliners. I'd put Greer Barnes on last, though. Well, I watch Louis. I know. Greer Barnes. But I believe Rick Shapiro is battling Parkinson's. So that makes it even extra special. All for the Light of Day charity organization. They do a lot of music concerts, and now they're doing this. This is Tuesday, July 13th. Tuesday, July 13th. I think Rick is going to come in and do the Ron Fez show on Monday. Now, that's a weird thing about comedians, that they're always, like, really doing cool shit. You know what I mean? Like, they're always available.
Performers.
Yeah, but, performers for free.
Right.
Where, I hate to tell you, there's certain bands out there, try to get them to come out. Some of those charity things. I should never probably say anything negative about charity, should I? Under any circumstances.
Maybe not publicly.
Later on today, you're going to tell your story that I've told people for years.
Yes.
You have a weird story.
I do have a weird
about
story.
Bill Cosby.
I do. I'll tell it. I'll share it.
We're at the point now where you're willing to share a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
I'm ready to speak out.
And I'm keeping an eye on everything that's going on over here with Parasite.
Yeah.
This is madness. So the two ugly brothers who went in and shot up the Satire magazine, the French police have had them on the run. Now these two guys have a hostage, and they're holed up in some little store or something over there. I guess it would just be hashtag Lahane. But I just want this story to be over.
Yeah, gosh. Now, this started early this morning?
Yeah, like in the middle of the night sometime.
Yeah.
They've already known who these guys were for a long time. They've been on the no-fly list.
Right.
I mean, can you imagine that your shit is so fucked up someone won't let you get on a plane? Like, no, I'm sorry, you can't leave the earth right now. No one trusts you. No one trusts you to be anything more than sea level. Well,
How did they find him? One of them came forward, right?
Yeah,
is that a thing?
Yeah, they had a rat friend that was with them. He was like, I guess, the driver or something. No one escapes the French police. They're known as the greatest in the world.
It's very true.
They have them holed up in this place, and so far the police have sent them as, I guess, a way of saying, we want to negotiate. They sent them some unbelievably great bread, some escargot, cheese that's supposedly just out of this world, a bottle of really, really nice wine, and just some light pastries. I mean, so light,
That's so civil.
Yeah. I always say this when I'm with them. I go, God, this is so light. I'm going to need about 30 of these. Just so it feels like a Kit Kat.
That's how I feel about every light food that's delicious.
It's a little too light. Could you heavy this up a little bit? There's also we were saying you're going to get to your Cosby story. There's a piece up on the Interrobang today where Cosby from the stage did a joke about it in Canada, about the allegations about him, that I think a woman was getting up to, I don't know, go to the snack bar or something and said, I'm just going to get something to drink. And Cosby was like, you don't want to be eating and drinking around me.
No.
Yeah.
No, we didn't.
He's edgy.
What? Since when? I thought he's not edgy, and that was his thing.
He does a lot. Wouldn't that be great if he just starts to come out like Dice Kinnison? You know what I mean?
He's gone heel.
Yeah.
He's gone heel.
A complete heel turn. So the quote is, you have to be careful about drinking around me.
Oh, God.
And then he's laughing, and I think he leans back and pulls his zipper down. Just slowly pointing at it.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. That's crazy shit, huh?
Did it get a laugh?
Killed. I mean, it just murdered. People were slapped. They said it got a gasp, then a laugh, and then a standing ovation. No, I'm not even making that up.
Wait, no.
I'm not making that up.
That's real?
Yeah, he got a standing ovation. A heckler yelled out, and this is a great heckle, "You're a racist!"
No.
Yeah, and that guy was thrown out.
A racist?
Yeah.
Or a rapist?
Oh, yeah, it's rapist. I'm the racist. I forgot.
You were thinking about you.
Yeah. The weird thing is, I have a line that's more offensive than that heckler's. I could have yelled something out that would have freaked the room out more than that.
Oh, my God.
Can you imagine if they're throwing you out for heckling somebody that they claim is a well, you know who's insane about him is Apatow. Judd Apatow is just like constantly tweeting, angry shit about Bill Cosby, down to the point where I think the producer of Blackish said, dude, stop it. You're coming off a little crazy. But see, here's the thing. They don't want him to perform because he's a rapist. But I'm like, why that out of everything? Why don't you stop him from getting gasoline? Why would you just wait until he does his show? What is it about performing that annoys you more than him, going to the park? What is it about that?
That's true. I mean,
Is it the applause? They don't want him to get applause? Or
they don't want him to make money?
He's got money. Like, if you don't want him to make money, you'd have to stop every check that's coming his way. The Cosby Show's run all over the world.
Is he unable to be tried for any of this? Yeah.
It's either statute of limitations, and some of the people, I guess he paid off years ago when they brought up stuff. A lot of times it's that, I like to say that money,
Sure.
You got to have that money. Money helps you to get away with a lot of shit.
Yeah, that's very true.
But it hasn't, see, in my opinion, it would be better if this thing, instead of us all lighting torches, right, and chasing him, it would be better if people just sat back and went, hey, how have we treated women over the years, Sure. How many times did, but no one's ready to do that in this country,
No, that's very true. But I don't know. I mean, I understand the want for a blackout of what he's doing.
Yeah.
But I guess it's just kind of a little bit hypocritical because I feel like, did everyone not know this?
People had heard stuff.
It was out, but it wasn't talked about.
It was out, and these things would come up, and then would, I guess, a payoff, and it would go back down. And we had heard about these things for, quite a few years. But it really just took another comic to joke about it.
Right.
For everything to change.
Which was amazing, that was incredible.
Yeah, particularly since it wasn't done, in a special or anything,
Uh-huh.
It was just,
someone just had recorded it, right?
YouTube did. But then I think it even sat around YouTube for a couple of months before it started to take off the way it did.
Wow.
But
but that was really the catalyst.
That was
for the
the thing that exploded it again. Yeah,
got people talking about it.
Yeah,
actually.
Yeah, that got everybody talking about it again. But and that got more people to come out, and really now it's just mainly Apatow. He just every day he's pissed.
He won't let it go.
See, for me, it's a weird thing because A, I get it, but B, we do have laws in this country. Like, I'm not comfortable with mob rule. You know what I mean? Like, if, like, even like in the old movies, if the day before the hanging, the town breaks into the jailhouse, pulls a guy out, and hangs him himself, that's still really wrong, you know?
Sure.
We have to set something up in this country where the guy is innocent until proven guilty. And under that, he is right now.
Yeah, but he's not being... None of his rights are being encroached upon. It's just
what? He can't go to work? Let's suppose we decided to do the same thing because we decided a gay guy, you know what I mean, shouldn't live in the neighborhood. You know what I mean?
Like, it's not the same thing.
It's exactly the same thing.
Being gay and a rapist is not the same thing.
To you? You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
But don't think that you could be out there. There are people in fucking weird places that would treat a gay guy exactly the way you would treat a rapist. So we have laws to protect that. You know what I mean? You have to protect people from public opinion.
Right, but for, let's say, a network to say that we don't want to show The Cosby Show anymore, right? Is to say that we don't want to associate ourselves with this person.
I get that completely, and they have the right to do that, but you have to be careful about the mob rule. You know, you don't want somebody tried and convicted by fucking Twitter, you know?
Right.
And that's where we are with this. And it's weird. It's not. I get where everybody feels, but I also think you have to be very careful because this is the exact kind of fucking things that happens to transgender people. You know what I mean? This is that exact kind of shit that happens to every fucking weirdo in a town.
Right, but I think it's probably not something that can be used as a blanket thing for that reason. But in this particular case,
when it suits you. That's what you're saying. When it suits you. And that's not justice. You know? I say, you know, figure out a way to, you know, put this thing out there. I think it's... I don't know why he felt the need to go out and do stand-up at this point. I mean, maybe he's not accepting it. And by the way, for all I know, everybody could be totally right about him. But when you give in to mob rule, there is a very high percentage of the time that the mob is wrong. And you know, this whole thing is the majority rules and shit. If that's how they round people up, you know what I mean? They will round up the usual suspects based on the same thing that you're happy with because it fits your political point right now. You know what I mean?
Okay. I'll give you that.
Look, I'm glad I could shame you back into... Well, you have your own feelings, mainly because of this story you heard. How many years ago?
I was told this story about, I would say 4 or 5 years ago.
Right, so this is long before any of the heat. And had you even known anything about Bill Cosby other than he was
I don't think I did. Mm-hmm. And I think when I told you this story, I think you then said, you know, there's all sorts of, you know, rumors that he is actually, you know, he's
not
been
so
really
nice.
Yeah, been creepy with women in the past, and there's been I think you told me even at that point there was a rape accusation. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I don't think I knew it when I heard the story.
Right. So, we'll set up the story this way. You were told this by a guy that you know.
Yes, I was told by someone I know who's a great guy. You know, straight shooter.
Right.
So I feel...
Not a guy who's apt to tell...
Not at all.
...big tales, but... As we say, this isn't your story, so you can't...
Of course, I can't say 100% that it's truth.
Mm-hmm. So you guys are at a party.
Yes.
And...
So here's... Like I said, it maybe might not sound as big as, say, a rape accusation, but you should look upon the story kind of like a character witness statement.
Okay.
that maybe it could inform you about the person.
Again, but this is also alleged, so we don't know. So
Alleged.
that's what we're saying, yeah.
It's alleged. So when my friend was a little boy, he was a latchkey kid, and he was at home by himself, waiting up for his mother, watching television. And finally, his mother comes home kind of late. She opens the door. She's not alone. With her is Mr. Bill Cosby. She says, son, this is Mr. Cosby. Say hello. And he says hello. And Mr. Cosby says nothing. Doesn't say hello. Acknowledges him only by looking at him, but doesn't say anything to him. And there's kind of like a weird, awkward silence. And then finally his mother says, me and Mr. Cosby are going to go in the other room. You stay here and watch your television program. So Mr. Cosby and his mom leave to the other room, which who's to say what's happening? But we could assume that, The
kid didn't hear anything, though.
I don't think so.
Right. Okay.
But they retired to the other room.
Okay.
So some time passes, and Mr. Cosby emerges alone. And my friend, who's a little boy at the time, still sitting in front of the TV. And Cosby crosses the room and comes over to him. And he takes his hand in his and takes his little boy thumb and just starts to press it hard down towards his wrist, just crushing it to his wrist, not saying anything, just looking him dead in the eye, just cold, dead stare, just bending his thumb back as hard as he could. And the little boy wants to scream, but he doesn't make a noise. He's just terrified. And finally, Cosby lets go, and he just looks at him one more time and walks out of the apartment. That's it. He never sees him again.
And you believe that story?
It's too fucking weird not to believe. It's so creepy and so strangely specific, but like you easily could have inflated that story to make it like
So the gist of the story is like keep your mouth shut.
Exactly. He knew exactly what it meant, which is I was never here, you didn't see me, you don't talk. But he never said a word to him. He just bends his thumb back super hard against his wrist to a child, to a little boy.
I
mean, is that the behavior of a psychopath? If it happened.
Oh, yeah. If that happened.
That is a psycho.
If indeed it did happen, it's probably almost a scarier story than the ones that the women are saying. You know what I mean? Because
he was conscious during it?
Well, because he was a child, and, like, to bully a child when you're no longer a child. Like, we've all bullied children when we were children. But to be a full-grown man and physically intimidate a little kid that's pretty frightening.
Really scary. Yeah. And like I said, the person who told me this story is an amazing guy and straight shooter. I have no reason to think he was definitely not a tall tale kind of guy.
Right. But at the same time, for the points that were on the air here, you never checked into the validity of the story, and there's no way you could prove it.
I could never prove that.
And it is, as I would say, hearsay. That story is total
it's just
hearsay.
A tale.
Yeah. That's crazy.
So creepy. It's too weird, too. Like, if you were going to make up that story, I feel like you would really amp it up. And, Cosby comes in, he says, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's just...
you ever speak a word, and then he, like, threw me across the room. I don't know. Like, you could have made it, like, a really...
But, see, here's the other part of it that's interesting. I guess it means that he doesn't always knock out his sex partners. You know what I mean?
Right.
But that leaves him a little surly.
Right. Seems like conscious in that situation.
Like I said, it's... These rumors have been out about Bill for a long time. Let me also say the other side of this. I don't know, and I'm being very serious when I say this. I don't know if there's ever been a more important comedian in the history of the United States than Bill Cosby. Because Bill Cosby, doing stand-up when he did in the 1960s, in a way that made people, whether white or black, relate to him.
Yeah.
On a level that makes you go, oh, I know what he's talking about, because that's just like my life. I put that up there with anything that Martin Luther King had achieved in terms of changing white America's perception of black people. That's why these rumors are heartbreaking to people of a certain age.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, when people talk about Cosby, they always go back to that TV show. I maybe watched that TV show 5 times.
Yeah.
But I always looked for that guy on The Tonight Show when I was a little kid. And it was always a strong show. And you have an uncle that was pretty racist when I was a kid. And he thought Cosby was funny.
Right.
And I'm talking about Cosby was doing this stuff at the same time Selma and all that shit was happening. Like, this is an ancient history.
Yeah.
You know, black people were being treated one way down south, and people would hate people like, I don't know, Muhammad Ali, but at the same time, some people might love, racist people might also love Bill Cosby and Motown people. It's the impact of what he did with his stand-up was so immense. It's probably why it's difficult for a generation to wrap their head around these horrible, rumors.
Yeah, it makes it that much more disturbing.
Because where do you put that art?
Yeah.
Where does it go? Does that negate it? Or is everything that I just say totally true? Because Richard Pryor wanted to be Bill Cosby. You know what I mean? At one time. Richard Pryor, if you watch Richard Pryor in the early and mid 60s, Richard Pryor was on stage going like this, my brother and I mean, he was basically doing Cosby, yeah. And then one day he was just like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm making money doing this, but I'm not happy. And he went off and he's thought about it and he came back as himself, as Richard Pryor. But for him to get on TV and everything, he just basically adopted the Cosby persona. If you look at, Seinfeld, Rock, Letterman, no matter who you're talking about, they were like, Cosby, is amazing, and he does it all without cursing, and he does, he can work any crowd. So there's a part of you that just goes, where do we put that now? You know what I mean? Where does that go?
Yeah, I think that's always hard with either an entertainer, an artist, is that when you learn something about that person, it's a very conflicted feeling.
Right.
Like, we had that same experience with Woody Allen where it's like, well, how are we supposed to feel? And I think most people chose to continue to...
Well, Woody Allen fans. And then the people that weren't Woody Allen fans, it gave them a reason to say why they don't go to those movies. Not so much that they don't get it, or there's not enough,
Right.
Sitcom-y type humor, but now they can say it. And I also think that's probably true of Cosby's fans. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm saying I probably haven't. There's nothing that he's probably done since that Himself special that I thought really stood out for me. But if anyone would ask me about comedy, he's got to be right up at the top with, in that very thin layer of names that you would bring up. Most of them all worked down in the Village in the 60s, you know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, you would have to think of him and Joan and Woody and so many of those people who basically set up the parameters of what comedy became. And then you got, of course, Pryor and Carlin, who probably jumped up above that whole crowd. But all those people were able to do that thing because those initial guys, Newhart and all them said, this is how it's done. You don't go out and just tell old jokes. But it's weird. Where does that go? Because his stuff was more important than stand-up comedy. His stuff was so subversive. Like I said, that white people who didn't like black people, white people who wouldn't even want their children to play with black people, would laugh at those routines and oddly not feel threatened by him.
Yeah.
Feel threatened by Richard Pryor, who has done nothing like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Pryor fucking had sex with people who wanted to do drugs with him. You know what I mean? He didn't have to sneak drugs. Pryor said, let's do drugs and have sex. Not, I'm here to talk to you about a job. Here, have a biscuit. Wash it down quickly with this. It's weird. It's bizarre.
I think that's also part of what makes it all the more villainous, too, is that he had such this positive persona.
Too much.
That, you've always got to be careful of those people who have not only have this outlook or like feel that everything, like should be cleaned up, but it's like the way they think of other people too. I mean, he was pretty judgmental of people who didn't do comedy in a clean way or didn't.
A whole generation of people that followed him that he thought had to pull their pants up. And,
yeah, exactly.
He lectured constantly, constantly. He was in here one day where he came in with, I don't know what they were, like G-rated rappers. It's the only way we could get him on the show.
I remember we listened to it.
Yeah.
Those rappers, those clean, really clean.
Yeah,
Christian maybe rappers.
But I mean, he came in and he just started treating me like I was Theo.
Like just bossing you around? Or?
He's like, where are the chairs for these men? Like, first of all, nobody knew. You know what I mean? Like, we thought you were going to be on the show. Now you got 4 clean rappers with you. Where are the chairs? Where water? Is there a bottle? And I go, finally, I'm like, Bill, I'm not the guy who gets the fucking water. Okay? That's not my thing. I don't know. And, somebody is running down the street trying to find a bottle that's a glass bottle and all that kind of shit. But, when people come down, like, oh, isn't he a dick? I'm like, well, he has been a star for 60 years. Right. He probably doesn't understand a world where every direction he looks, there's not someone with a plate of fruit. Melon, Bill.
That does something to the mind, I think. Like just having people cater your every need. And
I always think it's funny too, is like just how fucking quick your back can get up. Where like, here's this guy, like, it's Bill Cosby, and everything that I said about him I believe, but as soon as he started bugging me about chairs and water, I'm like, hey Bill, I don't fuck, you know what I mean? Maybe here you've been gone a long time, all right? I don't fucking shine shoes anymore, Fancy, keep that motherfucker here! We just come back, just stomping him. Like as soon as Fez sees me, he just starts kicking too.
Put the boots to him.
That was Fez. If a body hits the ground, forget it. Fez will destroy that person. Talk about mob rule. That's probably why I'm against mob rule, because I live with one. Every day on the Ron and Fez show, Fez is ready to mob out, make up a new law how somebody can't do something. But why did this happen? So everyone feels the way they feel about Bill Cosby, whether you thought he was too preachy, whether you thought he was too corporate, whatever, or whether you thought he was this breakthrough guy. But what was it about the Hannibal Buress joke? Is it because Bill's older? You know what I mean? Is it like the lion is older, so now everybody can go and take a piece out of him?
I don't know. I think it was maybe that he just put it into perspective so simply. Like, it was just like, you guys all know that this is the case, right? And then I think was just the simplicity of being like, why is he always pointing the finger at us? You know, like, we're not so great. And I think everyone was like, yeah, why does he say that? You know, like, for some reason, there was just something really simple about the message that I think it just connected with people.
Yeah, there's some truth. You know what's really funny about Hannibal Buress, too, is he's never tried to follow it up. You never saw him on CNN explaining the joke.
That's
he
great.
could do any fucking show in the world right now.
Yeah.
And this has been a long time, and you just see him just going around being Hannibal. You know what I mean? Like, he did, I don't know how you don't let this thing change your life. It's impossible.
Right.
You know?
Also, I think it impacted the way it did because the joke was funny. You know, it was funny the way he delivered it.
Right.
And had it been not very funny or angrier, like a touch more too angry, I think it just wouldn't
simply, yeah, well, you're right. It's bizarre, though. I don't, you know, I always am wondering where this thing is going to go now, though. I mean, how does this end? I'm gonna steal the line from the Truman Show. How does it end?
I don't know. I mean, clearly he's still trying to do comedy, right?
He doesn't need to do comedy. His house is made out of gold. Well, it's not, but it could be. You know what I mean? Like he has a fortune.
Yeah.
There's no reason he has to stay in this country. He could go anywhere in the world.
Why doesn't he?
No one knows what. I think he thinks he's right. You know, they're like, either he's none of this is true, or B, is he could he be such a sociopath that he can close it all down and it doesn't mean anything to him?
Well, I think it's pretty unlikely at this point that none of it's true. I mean, even...
You're lighting torches, aren't you?
No,
I'm
just saying, even if, 24 women, even half of them are lying, we've still got a dozen that are telling the truth at this point.
You know where he could go, though, and be accepted? Canada. Mm-hmm. Where he was.
Standing
ovation. Of course, they'll stand up for a hockey fight, those people. You know, let's be honest.
Yeah.
They go crazy at a Chilliwack show. April Wine shows up and they're going out and they're losing their shit. It must be crazy to be a Canadian rock star because you can play stadiums until you hit a state.
Right.
And then people are like, who are you guys? 15 miles from here, we just...
Nope, no idea.
Never heard of you. I remember there was a really big band when we were down. So there was Our Lady Peace, and Superband's Dead was their big song, which is a great fucking song, right? And they were extremely big in Canada, and they had an album out, and they came down to Florida, and they were just like, you can come out to a bar and meet them. You know what I mean? You could just...
You just walk up.
People in Canada are like, do you know where they're staying? You know, they're all like freaked out. All you'd have to do is go down to Daytona Beach and you could just shoot darts with them. Well, there it is.
How much can you fake? An ordinary boy.
An ordinary girl.
But ordinary
is just not good enough to me.
Alone, 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 alone. I'm thinking, why, yeah. Superman said, yeah.
That should have been big here. I'll tell you who's gigantic and always has been is Tragically Hip in Canada.
Yeah.
Gigantic. You two.
They're good.
They're
though.
great.
They're not big here and never were.
But see, here's what it takes. You got to get radio play. Is what it is. And Canada does, to me, the smartest thing I ever heard of is like they give a certain percentage of their FM time, you got to play Canadian music. So,
Oh, wow, that's-
so when you're in Canada and you're listening to a classic rock station, right? Yeah, you hear Led Zeppelin and you hear the Stones, but like something like, I don't know, 38 or 40%, they have a percentage that has to be Canadian bands. Now, here's the cool thing. What if we did that in every market here? What if...
But it was like local to
yeah,
the...
Yeah, so if you said, if you want to play music, if you want to have a thing in Cleveland, yeah, let's suppose it was only 15% have to be Cleveland bands, you know? It would be fucking amazing. We'd have all kinds of bands that would get followings and would have a chance to build up.
It would be very cool, and it would be cool to be able to share that with other people because you would actually have a knowledge. Most people would have a knowledge of bands from where they're from.
Yeah, everybody would just like that. You know, you start to learn local brews and stuff like that. But then there would also, what would be great is if we could get back to where there's a difference between Cleveland and Atlanta in this country instead of being the same place.
Yeah. And it would be great for travel too. Like you go to somewhere and you're like tuning in and
who are these fucking guys?
They're great.
Who is the here's Tragically Hip. Where did we do talk over the beginning? Because the beginning is so fucking badass. Yeah, we don't have that in this country now.
No.
Wherever you go, the radio is exactly the same. It's programmed by the same people, you know?
That's a shame.
It is what it is. We used to have like local things, but it was more tied into a mafia thing of radio play and stuff like that back in like, let's say, the 60s.
Yeah.
You know, until they started to push, as they called it, the garlic cloves out of the business, you know? That was what they would call Italians.
Oh, God.
No, I just got that. Oh, God.
No.
I'm Italian.
But
I don't understand. There's something weird about Italian slang is where they just call each other different food things. You know what I mean?
You mean
like their whole thing for like black people is just calling them an eggplant.
Yeah.
And then gay people, I think they call fenouil, which is a type of, I don't know, it's another type of food.
Isn't that I feel like it's a green.
It is a green. But it might be like a lemongrass or something like that.
Is it fennel?
I think it's fennel. I think you're 100% right. It's fennel.
Yeah.
Now, part of the...
Why? But why that?
Because it was used to start fire. It's just like the stick thing with gay people. You know what I mean? They just fenouiled it up. Italians like to just constantly talk about food.
They love food.
Yeah.
They love food.
Yeah, mainly pasta, but there are some other types of foods. Alex says, using the radio to reinforce rumors is not cool, #Bennington. Okay.
It's just a tale.
I don't know. I've worked in radio a long time. I don't remember doing anything but reinforcing rumors.
That's your whole thing.
Oh, Uncle Lauren down the hall is giving us some nice love, too. Gorilla Bob says, love Fezzi's laugh in the background. That is not Fez.
Huh?
Somebody sounds like a fenouil over there. Steve Morris says, #Bennington, best thing about Fridays, well, not every Friday, but some.
Some Fridays.
Spooky said, I wanted that Cosby story to be awful. I'm sure Felicia Rashad said Cosby did that kid a favor by stretching his thumb. He's welcome. Bill Cosby, alleged rapist, also ultimate thumb wrestler. Some of these people...
Terrible.
Dude, that story made me feel sad and angry. How old was that friend? He was a little kid when it happened, right?
Yeah.
Maureen says, Fridays are terrific. Thank you, Maureen. Okay, I made the racist rapist thing. What can I do? I make mistakes.
Can't go back now.
No, I can't correct it. I want to remind everybody that today is Unmasked with Mr. Robert Kelly. We're going to play it on the Ron and Fez show on Raw Dog, Channel 99, at just before 2 p.m. because we went a little long with it. Then it will be on tonight here on Opie Radio at 11 o'clock. And replays Sunday at 11 a.m. I didn't know this. The next Bennington is Friday, February 6th.
Oh.
So, yeah, keep your schedule cleared.
Great.
We got a break
jot
here.
This down.
Yeah, jot it down. Put it in, put it in your phone.
I will.
Because we don't jot anymore.
No.
We live in a technological age. You know why?
Why?
We live now in Black Mirror.
That's true.
You're watching Black Mirror, right?
I just started, so I'm the first season is done, the first 3 episodes.
I'm ready. Look, don't say another word. We're going to do commercial. Don't talk to me during the commercial.
I won't. I won't even look at you.
All I ever want to talk about is Black Mirror all the time. We'll be right back. It's Bennington.
You're listening to Bennington on Opie Radio, XM 103, Sirius 206.
That's Future Islands. A little funky there, huh?
Got real funky.
Got a little funky for us. What's the name of that song?
Doves.
Doves.
Sexy snow music.
It is kind of. It is. It's snowing out there. Well, I have to remember it's national, so
Right.
we're just outside of our window. It's snowing all over Times Square, and it's accumulating. I'm going to make the call right now. Keep the kids home from school. I never got a chance to do that on the radio. I never was able to do numbers like that. Keep the kids home.
Keep them home.
Just tell your teacher you heard it on the radio. We don't have to go in today.
Safety first.
You got to do safety first. It is Bennington. I'm Ron Bennington. This is Gail Bennington. No relation. We are, we're kind of into this, Future Islands thing, but at the same time, by the way, is that the same as Lonely Island? Is it a different?
It's a different island altogether.
Different altogether. I thought maybe some of the members would have been the same.
Different island.
Because both of the bands are pretty funny.
They are both kind of comical.
If I said anything to Future Island, I would be like this. There's a producer. You got any parody songs?
There's also a Fang Island. There's a lot of islands going on.
Island is, to this age, what the term soul was to every band in the 90s.
Yes.
Soul Coughing, Soul
Asylum, Soul.
I guess just two. Just two.
But
Soul to Soul, De La Soul.
Soul Your Roll. I made that one up.
Yeah. Soul Out. That would have been the whole thing, I guess.
Yeah.
Soul to Soul. Now, this is I had this guy on my show yesterday. Very polarizing to people. And he is a rock and roll guy from like the 70s. And he's the guy who put together a lot of bands, and he booked all the Allman Brothers stuff and Alice Cooper, and he put really the first big traveling stadium show out where they went out and played racetracks. It was almost like if you would have Woodstock just tour. His name is Johnny Podell. So he was telling me, and I mean, this is a real New York street guy. And he has been, like, he did that shit, and then he also had, like, the stadium tours with NSYNC and Britney in the, at the turn of the millennium, right? So, I mean, like, it's just, like, there's a part of him, like, he's where the groove is, but at the same time, if there's something to be made, if there's the next wave. So he said he believes this. We had rock and roll, and then we had technology. And the kids would... If you ask kids to say, do you pick your music or your phone, they're going to pick their phone. A generation now feels about technology and social media and their phone the way I felt about rock and roll, the way me and my friends felt about rock and roll. The next place that we go, he thinks that people are going to be showing up and going to stadiums and selling out is going to be spiritual speakers that connect the people that way. That we're going to be that the reason that people are going out to raves, right, is the same reason that people went to churches.
Yeah.
To feel connected to the people around him. And he thinks that the next wave is going to be spirituality. He believes that we're at the forefront of a spiritual awakening.
That's kind of an interesting idea. I mean, it makes sense that there has to be some sort of bounce back, some sort of reverberation from, like, being disconnected but connected all the time. That weird thing that phones have us, where it's like we can't not have them, and we feel like we're connected, but we're not really connecting to each other. Clearly, there has to be some group of people who are going to say, we don't want to do that anymore.
I don't know. Have we ever rolled back from technology before? Like, let's say this. Have you ever in your whole life met someone that didn't have a TV, and now you're starting to see people because they don't care because their computer screen is where they watch TV anyway? Yeah. You know, like the only thing that could replace TV. For years, when I was a kid, they was like, turn off the TV. It's the boob tip. It's the worst thing. And the only thing that made people turn away from TV is a computer. More technology. And then as quickly as the computer came up, the phone is making people step on people like this. What, you got a fucking laptop? What's the story, Grandpapa?
I've actually talked to lots of people who have done this to me, where they say, I don't even own a TV. I don't watch TV. I don't own one. but they're on their phone. And you're like,
That's a
okay,
TV.
that's your little TV. You have a little TV. And I'll be like, do you have a Netflix account? Yeah. Oh, yeah. So you watch TV on a different screen.
A TV is a phone, magazine, newspaper, television, movie screen.
Yeah, sure.
It's the weirdest thing in the world.
It's funny that people still will say that.
Like they're better than other people.
Yeah, like, yeah, I don't know. Well, no one owns like a tube TV anymore. Like, so what?
I'm saving up money for a color television. And the reason why is I love sports. And I just want to see those colors smashing out.
That's going to be great.
It is.
I'm going to watch sports at your house then.
Uh-huh. I definitely want to see the Beverly Hillbillies on there. See what that cement pond looks like. But you know how everyone's doing flat TVs? I'm trying to do mine even wider. This one just a really wide TV, just thick.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. But you know, now the thing is, and I'm going to name drop a little bit because I do that, Gail.
That's all right.
You know what? No, I do it because I know these people.
Yeah. I'm not going to judge you.
So Neil Tyson says to me the other day, Neil says to me, but he's like, when people are saying, okay, the phone is too much, he goes, you will never find young teens or, you know, there's no technology that feels too much to young people.
Yeah.
It's always people who grew up at a different generation. And then he laid this on me. And I will tell you the truth, it kind of God-smacked me a little bit. He said in a post-World War II, which was when we finally when technology became available to everyone, when you got TVs and radios and stuff, that was the beginning of my parents are lame. Before that, he doesn't believe it existed, that you would look at your parents for anything more than wisdom and sustenance and someone to emulate and try to live by. But because children always adapt to technology faster than their parents, that gave them the opportunity at a very young age to go, I know more than that guy over there. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I had never thought of that before. But it's a real stumbling block now because, A, how are you supposed to parent your kid in a world that you never lived in?
Sure.
The advice that you could give your kid is, if you know what, put down that phone and go outside and play kickball and hide the can and jump trains. You know, whatever they did when they were younger. You know what I mean? Like, you're trying to say, be a regular kid. Like, we go outside and turn that. It might be the worst advice ever. You know what I mean? They might, like, not be able to get a job someday because they can't have 18 screens up and moving their thumbs all over. We don't know what to program our kids to do.
And also because technology is moving so fast.
Too fast to where if you are 25 now, people that are 17 look at you like someone does something antiquated. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, really? You still have a G-Man?
And also the advances in technology years ago, probably because they were slower moving, everyone could adapt to the, like, together. It wasn't like any kids were like, my mom doesn't even know what a spinning Jenny is or something. Like,
but there were always people who were like, those trains have ruined this. Like, you watch an old cowboy movie, and the sad scene at the end is that there's a train or a fence, and everyone's upset. And you still go out west and find space. I don't know why they freaked out. I mean, you could get fucking lost out west. But technology has always made people who came before that technology feel left out. But now, like I said, you could be 22 and not being able to keep up with the new shit because you just mastered this version.
Exactly.
But go ahead.
I was just going to say that the gap between somebody like 15 years older than me we have more common experiences in the way we grew up than somebody who was 5 years younger than me. So that's a pretty bizarre thing, is that
that's because in 5 years now the technology changes more than it did from like 1900 to 1940. You know, like if you look at the baby boomers, they consider everyone who was born between 45 and 64 to be like-minded people. You know what I mean? That's a long fucking haul of saying, you know, you could basically have a baby boomer and their kid are both baby boomers.
Yeah.
You know? And because they both are going to go, the Stones are fucking awesome. You know what I mean? And I'm like, boom. But not now. You, like, the kids, music isn't a touchstone for them. It's in some ways more like computer noise than anything else.
And you don't, I think, probably don't experience it on its own. That you're doing so many things. I know we've talked about this before. Is like if you're doing 10 things, are you really doing any of them? I feel like we discussed that before, but I think that's really important when it comes to music. If you're not just putting on a record and listening to just that and not really doing much of anything else, but kind of taking it in.
Me and my friends would sit on the couch and listen to album sides and pass marijuana to each other, and we go like this. That was good.
Reefer?
I like that one. I like the third song. We were all like little music critics, like, there's a texture to this, I think, that wasn't in the earlier work. You know, you're like a kid.
Yeah.
You know, you're like a kid. You're like, there's something. I believe that they're going in a direction that they haven't arrived at. It's a transformational record.
Incendiary.
Yeah, incendiary.
Incendiary.
Oh, I remember the fucking first day I heard Fever Dog. I'm like, I gotta get into this band more.
Fever Dog.
But isn't that weird that that's where the loss of respect came from? And why would you respect somebody? Why would you respect your dad if he couldn't upload something? You know what I mean? You're like, you're in a fucking embarrassment. But see, here's the thing too, like we act like it's to be more social. Doesn't it seem like as it goes, I think that Twitter is less social than MySpace. I think MySpace was really a thing about bringing, you know,
your
my friends can see, blah, blah, blah. And Twitter is now quips. It's because we like texting better than talking on the phone.
Yeah. And also, you have a relationship with celebrities, and people follow companies, and they, you know what I mean? Like it's not
real. No fucking, it's just not real.
Real. This is real. You're real.
You're real.
Real.
This real, right? Real. What town was it?
Real Topeka people.
Yeah. This real.
It's real.
But I don't know. It certainly does not make me feel better about the future, which is probably a sign of age. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if anybody feels like they've learned something, and now that certainly has no more validity. That's ever good. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yes. I mean, I don't know. It's hard not to hold on to the things that you were told. This is how you are. This is what life is. This is what life is. This is how you're a person. And you know, the other day, my friend was telling me that he had to explain to his mother in 2015 that your computer is not a mailbox in which mail goes to that specific computer. Yeah. And he was so freaked out that all of this time has passed that she still thinks that like her work email goes to her computer at work. And she was like, I can't get my work email here.
This is why people don't respect their parents.
Exactly.
This is why.
What do you mean? Well, that's at my work.
That's my work email. And that's at my work.
I got to go to work and check on my email now because it's going there.
And he was just so freaked out. Are you kidding me? This is what you believe?
This is why people don't respect their elders. Yeah. And they used to. You have to imagine something. If your parents would have taught you something, like, say, in the 1600s, it wasn't to teach you to get along better with other people. It was to save your fucking life.
Yeah.
Everything that they were just looking at you like, you're going to go outside. I've sharpened this stick. You know what I mean? And when the bobcat comes at you, under the chin and up through the throat. You know what I mean? Like, you don't... and people are acting like the world's crazier today than ever. I'm like, you're fucking nuts. Your kid used to get a head cold and die on the floor. You know what I mean? There was nothing.
It's just different.
Yeah.
It's not more crazy.
But do you feel like it's less human? Do you feel like every tech... And I think that this was what Black Mirror is about. And this, for the people... By the way... Big Neil Tyson had never heard of it before.
Is that right?
Yeah. Oh, you know why? He wasn't in it. But
he's gonna dig that, I think.
Yeah. I don't know.
Or he's gonna be like, this doesn't make sense, and here's why.
The universe has over. We should just do stuff when he comes in. We'll be like this. We'll just act like, okay, so the universe has 6 planets, right? Now. But the weirdness of Black Mirror is that it shows you how technology can go so far that you wouldn't want it.
Yes.
I will tell people this, and I remember at a time, and it wasn't that long ago, that you went to work. You did your work, you went home from work, and you had your life. If your boss called you at home, you would feel like, did I leave the place on fire? You know what I mean? Now, people are expected to stay in touch 24 hours a day, where your boss can send you a message at 11, 12 o'clock at night, instead of the next morning. You know what I mean?
Insane.
You know, normally you would come in and your boss would have these memos lined up. Now the memos come to your house 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night. It doesn't make life any better.
And in the same idea, because we're connected to so many different things and we're doing so many things at once, we are always at work, and at work we're never quite at work either, because we're able to text or buy something on Amazon, or you know what I mean? So it's like you're pulling the work day out, but the time that you sit down and do your work is no longer quality either.
Well, they have to say to people, we don't want you to look at porn at work. Now, I'm sure in the 1980s, no memo went out, don't bring any porn magazines or porn videotapes to work. You know what I mean? That would have been, we're sending you to a psychiatrist.
Right. You have an illness.
But I forget who said it, that the work machine and the porn machine are the same exact thing.
The work machine and the... Oh, you mean as in your...
As the computer, it's the same thing. So, you know, you're working, and then I'm looking at porn. How did that even happen?
Well, I think it's kind of hilarious that in every advancement of technology we have, the next step after we invent it is how to incorporate pornography into that thing. And it's been happening forever. It's not anything that's new. It's not anything that's worse. The second someone decided, okay, let's try to, you know, someone created a camera, they were like, and let's take pictures of women.
But it gets even weirder than that. It's almost like you should buy stock based on it, because what porn decides to do ends up becoming the thing that's the most successful. So when like DVD came out, there was the laser disc, right? It was like all at the same time, and no one knew who was going to win this, and porn started going more to the DVD, and that's what it's like. Porn pushes technology. A, they're always the first to buy up and fill up content, and B, they're always driving a lot of things. But I remember when you would come into New York City and Times Square would be, just creepy fucking girl shows. Like even if you saw them, you were like, ugh, what? I don't believe I'm here. This is disgusting, right? And it was like, isn't this the most awful thing? We have this in our city. And we've moved that out of Times Square and into our homes, our cars, and our work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it on some level, it's what we want. But it also, imagine the strangeness that people these days would do if they did have to go back in time. Like people always like, I'd like to go back and be in the 1930s. You'd be like this all the time. Let's go, mama. People talk. They took their time. Yeah. People on Sundays would sit on the front porch and relax, and drink a nice iced tea or grandma's lemonade. They weren't like, just texting, moving. You need so much more. It's like we're meth heads.
People can't even sit down and have dinner with one another without. And I'm not saying I'm exempt from this. I'm saying when I'm in a conversation, sometimes I can already feel myself grabbing my phone and have to stop myself and be like, "There's nothing I need to see. Like I can just be in this moment right now."
You don't want to miss something though.
What if somebody tweets something that's
I always have my phone at dinner, but I'm never texting. I'm always taking pictures of my mashed potatoes. And then I'll put it up on my Instagram under, look at these taters. Or, oops, more taters.
Oops.
And then the next one I'll do, didn't I tell you? I love taters.
Just made these taters.
The only thing, I love Instagram, but I have no followers. And I don't know, I'd love to get some feedback on my tater pictures. I just want something, do you ever eat anything besides taters?
I know that you don't have an Instagram, I don't think, but if you had one, you would be shocked how many people take pictures of food that is so unimpressive and disgusting looking.
Well, most people eat at Chili's, so who wants to see a picture of Chili's?
Like someone will be like, just made this, and it'd just be like some toast with a piece of avocado, and you're just like, what? So good.
You should become the Instagram heckler. Just heckle like, oh, your food looks like shit.
This is disgusting.
Yeah. Did that come out of your ass? Just kidding. But did you puke it? Hashtag puke and ass. Puke from your ass. Let's just spend all of our time fucking with other people's Instagrams.
Why not?
Your grandchild looks obese. So this Black Mirror deal, it's almost a Twilight Zone that deals almost exclusively with technology. And I think we know technology is bad. I think we've always known.
Yes.
Everybody but the Japanese, who keeps building robots that are going to enslave and kill us.
Which we know is going to go.
We know.
It's going to go bad.
We know it on a cellular level. We've always known. In the 1890s, they didn't even have a fucking corkscrew. And yet, Jules Verne is like, don't fuck with robots.
Right.
He's just writing it constantly. Robots are going nuts. And the people there are like, you mean a rowboat? No, a robot. What is that? Something that hasn't even been invented yet is going to kill us. We know it.
We also fear technology, so I guess it's because of what you're saying, because it's something that changes within your lifetime, but we're fascinated by it and completely terrified.
Well, we know it changes us, and we know it changes the people around us. So we're always afraid of those sci-fis where people look like kind of glossed over and weirded out, and and you're like, oh, and when you're talking to your chick and she's looking at a little glowing box with her thumbs going back and forth instead of paying attention to you when you're trying to tell her what a jerk your boss is. Or the stories that I'm always trying to tell about those fat cats down in Washington. That's why I want to take over for these cartoonist guys. you know,
you
and start drawing. I want to be a political cartoonist, and I'm always gonna like draw like a pig, and then I'm gonna like put like a Uncle Sam top hat on him, and I'm gonna write Congress across the spine.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's your first one.
Yeah.
That's great.
And the thing at the bottom I'm gonna put is like, I eat my own shit. You know, because I'm gonna stay edgy like those fucking guys.
I always like that in their symbolic cartoons. It always has to like wear a little shirt that says Congress
Right.
or like just its foot is like Republicans.
Yeah, GOP. They always write GOP instead. And so, you know, then they're farting and it just says tax waste. You know, and you're like, really? That's what you work on as an adult? I'm drawing up a strip right now, and I hope it's not offensive. It's called Little Muhammad. And it's just about Muhammad as a child.
Please don't. This is a bad idea.
Why?
It's going to go bad. Some people don't like it.
I don't care what they like. My name is Fez Watley, and I live in the West Village.
If you have something to say about it, come on down.
I got an idea. It's a bit. It's kind of like the Far Side. I call it Muhammad, and it's just this cow that the other cows are listening to.
They just jokes.
Yeah.
He's just kidding.
And I'm like, I want you guys to fly into some barns.
No.
Barnes! You son of a bitch! This is not a firing squad. So you're watching the Black Mirror. You've watched the first season. First episode is the president who gets...
the prime minister is...
Yeah, you don't want to give that away.
Don't want to give it away, but it's pretty disturbing.
Second one is like... I consider that one American Idol meets Candy Crush.
Yes.
What if you were inside Candy Crush and you lived there?
And like that part of Wall-E where everyone's like on little motorized scooters and stuff.
All right.
Combine that in there.
And then the third one is the mirrors, the memory eyes.
Yes. So you have a chip that's implanted in you.
We should say this. Spoiler alert if you don't want to hear about episode 3 of Black Mirror. But you have a... Spoiler alert. This gives you an opportunity to turn off your radio now if you don't want to hear about the third episode of a British TV show. So I'll just give you some time to turn your radio off. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert in 15 seconds. Spoiler alert coming up. Episode 3 of an English TV series. 5 seconds until spoiler alert. We're back. Thanks for staying with us.
Oh.
See, I don't need technology. You know?
You could just do it yourself.
I can hum. I come from a generation that hummed. I wish I didn't call myself a generation. So
it's hard to say things sometimes.
Oh, it's hard to say English language, you know? I'd like to be those Chinese where you just make noises. That's lucky. I find Chine, you know? And everyone likes you.
I think those are words.
Yeah. So this episode 3. All right, well, you can take a couple minutes for yourself. I can read this thing about Robert Kelly. Robert Kelly tonight is the Unmasked. So here's what you can do. At 2 o'clock today on a show called Ron and Fez over on Raw Dog, which I believe is just going to be Fez today. I want to get out of this snow as quick as I can. You'll be able to see. But tonight, here at 11 o'clock on Opie Radio, it's Mr. Robert Kelly Unmasked. There's some clips and a story up on the Interbank today that is just terrific. And then right after you listen to that interview, you can watch him tonight on Raw Dog from the Underground. And then it plays again here, 11 a.m. And if you listen closely, you'll be able to hear Opie laughing in the background at his buddy, Robert Kelly. So now that we've given people a chance that don't want their alert spoiled, there's some kind of chip that you get that your memory is saved and you can replay it anytime that you want. And the question, or show it on the screen and show it to other people. Like, here's what happened at work today. What do you think?
Yeah.
The weird thing about this technology is, it could happen sooner or later.
Yeah, that's, I think, what's really great about that episode is it's not completely far off from where we're at.
Yeah.
It kind of felt like that could be where we're going in the near future.
Like when you used to watch Star Trek, you're like, oh, I see, this is 400 years in advance or whatever. But now we're always like, it's coming. You know what I mean? The cars are going to look the same. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to be that different.
Right.
Now, that one, it weirded me out for two reasons. Number one, the fact that you would become obsessed with your own past. But number two, that technology does nothing to ease the human condition of jealousy. And I consider jealousy right up there with dope sick. You know what I mean? Like, it's the worst ways in the world that you could feel, obviously mourning a loss, dope sick, where, oh my God, I need dope, but I can't take it. And then jealousy it's horrible, and it's the worst.
Some people don't suffer from it.
They're the best people.
Yeah. But that always shocks me, because
your mom is not a jealous person.
I know.
Yeah,
no, she's not.
But oddly, so you would think that would make me know. But the thing is,
yeah,
I have a reason to be. No, but but even when I was younger, it would come and go at different. Like, it's never been like a constant thing.
But because it can sort of creep up on you, I think it's and you have, or it feels as though you have no control over it.
Yeah.
Because at the beginning of the episode, I think you're kind of following along with the way that they're using this technology.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you can say, well, what do you think of this thing that I experienced earlier today, and show it to your friends or to your family, and then be like, oh, I think it's probably like this, and help you interpret your own experiences. And then it starts to play into a relationship where you start to use it in arguments. No, that's not what you said. You said it like this. And immediately I started thinking, God, I need that. Like, wouldn't that be great to be able to say, when you feel like, I know I was right about that thing, I would love to be able to prove to another person that that's exactly how that person said that thing, and you don't remember it correctly. And then the way your obsession can just turn on you. Like, it's just, you're going to take something in technology and you're going to make it evil yourself. You are going to make it bad. Your own obsession. Yeah.
And that, it's not even an obsession that you can do anything with. What's your upside of having that kind of jealous obsession? A, you find out you're wrong, which means you keep going because you feel like you're close to it. Or B, you find out everything that you thought was true, which is also destructive.
Yes.
Terrible. That episode made me stand up while I was watching it.
I was sick to my stomach through the whole thing. And maybe because we both share a jealous gene, and perhaps you can see.
Oh, I hope it's not genetic. I hope I taught it to you. That might be even easier for you to kick.
I learned.
Oh, it's terrible. But see, this also had me thinking about memory. Most people's memory is so bad that when they tell me a story that I was there at, I just assume that they're dumb as shit. But then what would make me think that I remember things any better? Like, if you read a book, let's say you're reading a book and it's like a rock biography, right? Mm-hmm. They'll be like this. when Tom Petty came into my office, I thought there was something special about him. And they'll start to recreate this conversation. And you're like, I know this is a lie, because who could remember what you guys said to each other in 1976?
You see it all the time in documentaries where somebody's taking credit for discovering someone. And that's when I told him, you should be doing this kind of thing.
Put on leather pants, Jim. You're the fucking, I don't know, Gecko King? Let me keep going here. Lizard King.
That's you.
By the way, worst fucking handle anyone ever had for themselves, the Lizard King?
It's a little weird.
That's dumb. But see, I have friends, and their memory, it's not that it's incredibly bad, but it's so, they've compressed everything. So I'll run into guys that I knew, like in high school, and they'll be like, oh man, you remember that weekend we went to Wildwood and we hooked up with those chicks from Conshohocken and we beat up those Puerto Ricans. Remember? We went to that fucking Aerosmith concert that night. You know, and you're like, you've taken 5 years of memories and shoved them in a week. And they're like, and then they're always like this, man, everything was fucking great back then. And I'm like, really? Because I remember we stood on a lot of fucking street corners waiting for our man to fucking swing by. He was always late. Fucking, you know, everything seems like it was a little... And then I think, well, why would I trust my memory anymore? It's just mine.
Right.
You know? But this is what freaks me out about, you know, everyone brings up the technology of, you know, machines, but it's the technology of drugs that has changed so much, man, that everyone you know takes some kind of drug now, and the commercials are about drugs. Like we were talking earlier about the DARE program. They constantly don't take drugs, it's a shortcut, it's gonna end. And then you watch a fucking football game and it's constant what to do with a drug.
Yeah.
If you would watch a football game, you would believe that men's penises don't work for any. They can't have sex. They can't piss. They can't, you know. And you're just like, do we need that many drugs?
There's an epidemic.
Yeah, like there's
What's going on with you
a
guys?
lot of people who aren't even sick but are taking drugs every day. If I showed you the amount of pills that Fez eats on a daily basis, you'd be shocked.
For physical stuff or for mental stuff?
Both. I mean, it's like a bag of M&M of pharmaceuticals every day.
God.
How can anyone just keep taking so many pills? And yet, he's not unique with that.
Yeah, no.
You know?
I know a lot of people who, well, I can't remember if I was talking to you about this recently, but when you meet somebody who's going through something that's really horrible, bad tragedy, and then they were prescribed something to get them through this tragedy, it's like, yeah, that was a really bad thing. You should totally feel really sad about it. You should have post-traumatic stress. You should be sad that your mother passed away. These are like normal emotions.
My mom died, so I started taking pills, and I feel okay about it now. Thank you. Thank you, Paxil.
That's not a good idea. You're probably supposed to feel...
I don't even remember her face in my mind. You know, I mean, you're crazy if you're not devastated if one of your parents dies.
And is it just me, or do, like, none of these drugs work? They don't seem like... Do you know anyone who's on an antidepressant who seems like, this person's pretty together?
Most of the time they say, I have to go back and we have to fix what is going wrong. And then I have this friend like that, and now her stuff is even going into physical stuff, right? Because of different things that happen from the drug. So you don't know what... You know, you don't know where to start unraveling this thing to fix it, because it's the original problems, which probably did exist. The anxiety was there, the depression was there. Then the drug gets done, and then you're dealing with the drug wrong. Then it's the drug that they tried to change it with. And now you're like, where do you... And now there's some physical problems that have popped up. And you're like, where do you start and fix the end of this, So here would be the question for me. Would you rather live in the past or the future if you had to make, like, if it just showed up and you were told you're leaving this time? I'll say the universe, the keeper of the universe, who I now call, I'm going to say Bob. If Bob showed up and said you have to live 50 years in the past or 50 years in the future, which one would you pick?
That's pretty tricky.
Bob's going to destroy the world if you don't make a decision.
What?
Yeah, that's how this works.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I guess as a woman, I'm gonna go future.
All right, smart move. I didn't even say for me. I'm always thinking white male.
Right.
But if you probably went in the past, they would just throw you into a pen and sell you in the town square.
Exactly. I think that's always the tricky thing of, like, when you ask somebody what time would they like to visit in the past.
Black guys are always like, not too far back.
Yesterday?
Not too far back.
Yesterday, I guess.
90s? Really, that whole Public Enemy era is where I like to come in. Anything else would suck. See, that's weird because this is why it's hard. All I thought of is as a white guy. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But there's like no black dudes. And I'm like, I'd love to be back in the Middle Ages.
That's not going to go well for him.
So future.
I guess.
Because I kind of feel like the future sucks. I really believe that.
I think it might.
Yeah.
It's probably going to. And we're going to have our memories stored in our...
No, I don't. I'm going to go chipless. I ain't going to do it, dude.
Well, that's what I'm saying. There's going to be a group of people. Maybe it's the spiritual movement. Maybe they'll be the chipless.
Johnny Podell and his fucking band of gypsies. It was very weird because yesterday I was talking with Big Neil, and he came. Neil Tyson was talking about the universe, and we got into atoms and stuff like that. And Johnny Podell comes in from a whole different. Man, there's spirits all around us, dude.
Wow, couldn't be more different.
I know. I would like to be a preacher like that for those people, and I would just be like this: spin and win, whatever it stops on. What you got, bear dog? Every time, everybody's a winner. Step one up, knock the bottles down.
It's the same thing. They're all carny.
But it makes you feel good. No one ever left a carnival saying I feel bad about myself.
No.
Did you ever read a book by Gary Steinhardt called "It's like super sad true love story"?
Mm-mm.
You would dig. This is for you.
Okay.
Put it on your Kindle queue. Is there a Kindle queue?
I don't know. I don't have one, but
you don't have a Kindle?
No.
I remember giving you a Kindle one year.
I gave it to my brother, but now I kind of wish that I had it.
It was a Christmas present.
I'm sorry. He really seemed to want it.
Right.
But I regret it now.
I regret it too.
I'm gonna ask for it back.
All right, well, I'm going to get you the actual book then. But here's and this book takes place only slightly in the future here in New York City. And it has to deal with social media. But the point being, the people who don't share everything are considered like weirdos and outcasts there. It's like if you don't have all your facts up on the SoundCloud somewhere, but what's wrong with her? What mental illness does she have? And I do think that's it's happening. Like, I don't think we're going to be that far away from a president that we've seen his dick somewhere online, or a first lady that we've seen her tits.
Right. Maybe next one, two away.
Yeah, I don't think we're that far away. I mean,
maybe it'll be President Wiener.
It could be Wiener, but when people are going like, I don't know why they made a big deal about that. Because we used to say, oh, we'll never have a divorced president. That was considered, how could you trust someone to run the country now that, they've proven that they could not run a marriage properly? Couldn't vote for that guy.
Does anyone even hold that standard anymore?
It's actually just the opposite. If you've only been married once, it seems like you're a little bit of of a weirdo.
Yeah.
What's with you? Can't get a lot of chicks? Can't fuck up a few times? Let's go over here to... here's Will in Texas. Wants to bring up Black Mirror. Hey, Will.
Hey, good morning. How are you doing?
Good.
Hey, heard you talking about the series, and I recall looking at a book of patents by Nikola Tesla, and one of the patents he had was to be able to project your memories onto a screen, like a theater screen, and people could view it. And I just thought it was kind of interesting that you were bringing up this series.
It's literally what Black Mirror was about there.
Yeah. I guess so.
And remember when he didn't, he was treated kind of antisocial for not doing it. Everyone was like, really?
Yeah.
You don't want to just put it up so we can all look at it?
Yeah.
And that's what this super sad true love story is about. Is like, if you don't share everything, that's the antisocial thing that you're doing. You know?
See, but there should be certain things that are kept sacred that, you know, we shouldn't know everything. You know, some things need to be kept away. And
for me, it's everything.
Private.
Yeah.
For me, it's everything. It's like, I don't like when anyone will ask me questions, which is weird that I interview people for a living. You know what I mean? But I would never ask people, like, I would have a guy on the show and would ask him about his work, but I never would say, do you have any children, or are you married? I would never. It seems like, that's right up there to me by saying, how much money do you make?
Yeah. And
How
there
much
are
is
people
saving?
who will straight up ask you that, too.
Say what?
Which
Jews.
is totally rude.
You mean Jews?
To me, you don't do that.
That's not what I mean.
What's
but
that?
It's interesting. That's actually kind of rude, but it's weird that this younger generation, they have no problem asking questions like, how much do you make?
They do. I don't even like when people say to me, where do you live? And I'll say, on the east side, and they'll go, what block? Like, this is getting a little fucking strange.
Yeah.
Because people are smart enough to divulge information from that, to pull information. And hey, you're like, you don't need to know that.
Yeah, but then when you don't give the information, it makes you feel like you now have a trust issue with that person. You know what I mean? Like, they're suddenly like, what, do you think I'm going to stalk you?
Yeah, that is true.
That's true, but you know what? I guess this whole social media where automatically you're my friend, you automatically give that information up. Yeah, friend me, and boom, you have my information. I think that the whole courting has gone away in every aspect of our life. It's automatically, you're my friend, da-da-da, here's all the information.
More people meet in like Match.com type things and get married than meet anywhere else now.
Yeah.
That's bypassed it. And if that isn't a gigantic adjustment in the way human beings act, I don't know what is. Now, it may be much smarter to write all these things down and try to find out that you hook up with someone and you both love Star Trek, and you both want to go to Comic-Con, and you both think the Weezer Blue album, that's easier, but I don't think that you really know someone because of that.
There's also a lot of people who you have common interests with that you wouldn't like. Just because you like the same things doesn't mean that you are
partner up.
Yeah. And it's actually pretty common to get along with someone, live with them comfortably, be attracted to them, and have different interests. It's a good thing.
Right.
So all these people on like Tinder and like Match.com or whatever, everyone is looking by common interest. I don't know if that's necessarily Yeah,
you're right, because if you partner up with somebody, let's say in a business, you want to have different skills.
Right.
And it also works well in a relationship, particularly if you're going to bring kids into it, because then people can do different jobs without, just always being together all the time. Those people are fucking nuts.
Sure. But
I have to break now. Someone just broke an imaginary stick in front of me. Like this.
exploded.
But he was already fading back because he knows I hate that kind of shit. All right, we'll pick it up. It is Bennington. Hashtag Bennington on the Twitter. Phone number is 866-766-0339. I want to remind everybody, Robert Kelly Unmasked premieres today on Ron and Fez over at Raw Dog. We'll play that at 2 o'clock. But you can listen to it tonight at 11 p.m. on Opie Radio, and it right here, and it replays Sunday at 11 a.m. You're listening to Bennington. Our next show is Friday, February 6th. We don't do every day, Jackson Brown. It's just sometimes. Right back. This is Bennington.
This is Bennington, Opie Radio, XM 103, Sirius 206.
She talks right to my soul.
That is Future Islands.
It is.
It seems like our gimmick on this show is just to pick one group, and that'll be our
that's
our
what we've
playlist.
been doing.
Yeah.
House band.
I wonder. Yeah, we could house band it. Another day, maybe we could just pick a style of music.
Yeah.
Soundtrack one day. But the Future Islands, getting a lot of love.
Good.
Getting a lot of love.
They deserve it.
I don't know if it's getting Fantastic Man style of love,
Right.
because, how are we ever going to beat that?
Fantastic Man was a big hit.
It was a gigantic hit, and it brought a lot of love, and it brought the people of the world together. I got half an eye up here on this TV, and it looks like they've added a second hostage standoff in France. It's just horrible. It's just horrible. What are you if you're running France? You're the president, you're the premier. What's your job title there?
They have a prime. They have
kind of a prime minister, whoever's the head guy over there. I'm going to say president.
I think they have. It might be a president.
He came out and he goes, "We will not negotiate with hostages." And they go, "Well, there's no sense in it anyway, because the hostage has no power." And he goes, "Well, I made a mistake. Forget it. Let me come back, and I'll do it."
Hold on. We hate hostages? Is that what I mean?
I don't know what I'm saying. Here's Will in Chicago. Having some beautiful weather in Chicago this week, aren't you, Will?
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
Great for everything.
The lake has frozen over.
Oh, no.
It's so brutal there.
It's pretty damn cold.
It's not bad today. It's 5 degrees.
5 degrees. And then the wind chill makes it feel like everyone's dead.
Yeah, but it's sunny.
What can we do for you, buddy?
So, you were talking about watching football and seeing every other commercial being for a pill and, convincing, that it would have seemed that everyone has got some physical ailment or mental ailment, that we're all dysfunctional, right? We need a pill. So I'm actually a doctor, and so
Me too.
I see these things on a daily basis where, it seems to me it's kind of, the free market will do what it can to make a buck, right? And so it seems to me, at least compared to 15 years ago when I first started, that nobody can cope with anything. You know what I mean? So we have zero coping skills. So why actually have to think about something or put up with something? Can't you just give me a pill? And people come in droves looking for every little thing. They want a pill. Don't you have a pill for that? Isn't there a pill for that? And to me, I think that the bottom line of it is that, we've gotten so soft and lazy, and that we have nothing to really put up with or nothing to deal with. We have zero coping skills, so it becomes chemical coping.
Yeah, it's very.
I guess. Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to touch on.
No. Well, I'm going to agree with you. It just seemed like, for all the books that are out there and all the Dr. Phils, it's people's ability to cope is down so much. I see so many adults that it would just say, "Could you take this off my hands?" I can't imagine any of my father's generation saying, "I have too much. Could you take this from me?" You know what I mean? And no one wants to. I don't know whether somehow we think that things are supposed to go easy, but one thing I've learned from doing all these interviews is just how difficult it is to make things, right?
Yeah.
I talked to a guy just written a book about Billy Joel, right? And you're like, oh, Billy Joel, he's a talented guy, and he writes sweet pop songs. That seems like a lovely life. It just seems like, honesty. I feel like I could have done it. Yeah. It seems like it's almost easy. And you read this book, and these, he just had to scratch and fight just to get these things done, and got shit on, and, there's just nothing easy. And Colin Quinn said something to me the other day. It's going to stick with me. He said the cavalry ain't coming, that we have to convince ourselves that there's some part of us that thinks someone is going to discover us or like us or think that we fit in, and they're going to come over and say, "What you do is great. I'm going to put it here." And he said that when he figured out that the cavalry wasn't coming, that's when he started to do his own shit. And I had to admit, I have a fantasy that all the time that someone's going to go, "What you've been doing fits in here perfectly. Do not change." And I always have.
I think that a lot of creative people have that fantasy.
Yeah.
And it's smart to keep it as a fantasy and know that it's
not going to happen.
I think it stifles a lot of people who want to be great, and you not even just artists, but just want to be great at something. I think that why wouldn't it, be the dream for someone to just be like, no more fighting. You're great just the way you are.
You are great. We don't want to change anything. You speak not to a generation, you speak to a species. And you know what? I'm going to tell you something that right now, and I'm serious. 1984 is just 11 years away. Think about that, man.
But yeah, like you want that almost like kind of maternal figure to come in and be like, "You're great.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to fight anymore. Just be yourself.
Be
and
yourself.
Then, you know what? You'll make money like that. You're going to be comfortable, and you could just be creative."
I think you might end up making too much money. I think it might get you better talk to somebody. There's going to be a person who's just going to take care of your money for you because they love you too. We all do. We're all supporting you at all times.
You just have to show up.
You find out that these people this should not come as a shocker, but the people who got successful worked really hard for it and were turned down many times, and then also made a lot of compromises that they didn't want to make.
Yeah.
And that's why when you give them an award at their end of their life, when they give you a Lifetime Achievement Award, you should go like this with it. Well, you should have seen what I fucking wanted to do. Okay? Because believe me, it wasn't this shit that you all love. I had something great planned for you assholes. But no.
Gosh. Well, I mean, I feel like I don't know. Everybody wants to be able to do what they want to do.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be able to do what they love to do.
Yeah.
And it's hard to keep it in your sight that it's something that you would actually have to struggle for. Because nobody wants to struggle. Why would you want to? Why would you want to fight?
Yeah.
It's not natural.
And yet, now that Jay Leno's done the Tonight Show, all he talks about is how he got notes, how they said, could you start writing more jokes for 18-year-old boys? Could you switch this in? Could you take these guests? And he basically said, I just wanted to do my jokes, and then I had to do all these other things. Like, he did and it appeared that way. If you look at him, it looked like he was suffering most of the time. But they gave him a lot of money, and blah, blah, blah. But my point is, it's just never perfect. It never is the way it is in a fantasy. I read this thing not too long ago. They said fantasies are kind of dangerous because you don't put the struggle in the fantasy. You know what I mean? No one...
Skip over that part.
Yeah, you skip over that part, and it's just like, this is great. Your album went to #1.
And people think that about people who are either very successful.
I think it all the time.
Yeah.
I think, if I look at Paul McCartney, it looks like, what an easy thing to do. To have that talent and just sit there and just tap it out. Easy! Someone's knocking at the door. I mean, it's hard to believe that that's fucking hard. Somebody's ringing a bell. Because I know it kind of I think I could have done that one. I've heard people knocking at the door, and I've heard them ringing a bell. I didn't want to get up, and I said to my brother, do me a favor. Open the door and let them in. But I didn't do it musically.
It could have been you.
It never is, though. Somebody's ringing a bell. So what we're saying, ladies and gentlemen, is no one is happy. Nobody.
Literally no one is happy.
No. Nobody's happy. Right now, the people of France are terribly unhappy. This is the type of thing, when you see it on TV, that creates prejudice. You know what I mean? Like, you see something like that, and they represent one religion, right?
Yes.
And it just makes you think, that religion must be just awful. And it's hard to share. That's the easiest thought to come to first.
Well, that's I saw somebody was writing that yesterday. on Twitter somewhere. I can't remember where I saw it, but they were
Was
saying...
it Obama?
No, it wasn't Obama.
Because it's really dangerous. He writes it.
But when you see a crime committed by a black person, it's like it's the race. It's for Muslims, it's the religion.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's like a white male shooter, it's like he was
Psychopath.
crazed.
Yeah.
He was a crazy person.
But we know that. We have enough evidence to show that that's true. Well, I don't know anything about Muslims. I'm pretty ignorant when it comes to them.
Sure.
I know two things about them. One, they hate cartoons. Two, they fly directly into buildings. I probably should research them a little more. And they do that thing where they walk around that wheel for some reason. Mecca.
A little more research, maybe.
I don't know, but
research.
It seems to me, and it would be very helpful. There's no center to their church. You know what I mean? There's no center to their religion. Like the Catholics have a pope who, if someone did this for the Catholics, a pope would come out and go, "Oh, well, man, this isn't us at all. I don't get it." But since there doesn't seem to be one leader.
Yeah, they need a spokesperson.
Well, the thing is, the Jewish religion is the same way. There's no single leader. The Catholic Church is set up like a nice big corporation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's Walmart. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's for people by poor people. It's for poor people by poor people. It's the FUBU of white people, really. And the Pope would be out to say it. But because no one is able to come out and say that, do you know who the head of the Catholic League is? Bill O'Donoghue in New York City?
Yeah.
He's... It's best to describe him as a piece of shit floating around in a piss bucket. But he doesn't work for the Catholic Church, but he runs this, it's like a fan page for them, I guess. Sure. I don't know what it is. But he actually said this yesterday. I could see where these Muslims were coming from. You know, those cartoons.
Oh,
they really get on your nerves a little bit. You know, they do a lot of jokes like that. Now see what happens. I'm not saying they should do that, but you can see it.
Jesus. Religion is dangerous. It's a dangerous tool.
You think all religion?
It can be. Yeah, sure.
But a dangerous tool is any tool.
Yes,
any tool is a
exactly.
dangerous tool.
It's only dangerous when it's in the hands of somebody who...
And this may be like a certain prejudice, but I'm very comfortable with spirituality and never comfortable around religion. You know what I mean? But that just might mean that I don't want to do the work to go into a religion anyway.
That's kind of interesting. That is a serious prejudice that I don't know if maybe it's where we live, but I feel like I know a lot of people who are like that, where if somebody brought up something that was somewhat vaguely spiritual,
the universe.
Yeah, or like even an experience that was kind of like surreal and like, I'm not saying that it was this, but it was kind of a spiritual. And everyone's kind of leaning in and being like, wow, really? That's interesting. And then someone's like, I was raised Christian. And everyone leans back like, I don't.
If someone said to you, I was out in the Grand Canyon and you just feel so connected and you feel so spiritual, I was like, yeah, you do. But if someone said, I'm out there and I could just feel Christ around me, the Spirit of the Lord, I would just be like, ew. Oh,
what?
You're a freak. You're a scummy freak. And it's just a different word.
Yes,
it's just a different word. People are all the time, like if they say angels, you're like, yeah, I get it. Like you just feel like there's a good thing. But if they go, I talked to Jesus last night, and everyone's just like, what?
No, you didn't.
You're dumb.
You're crazy. Or like if you explain something as sort of like the mysteries of the universe or something.
Yeah.
And you're saying that something's connected and someone says, well, that's God right there.
Mm-hmm.
What? What do you mean? What are you talking about? That's crazy. Like, it's just a difference in one word.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it means that we're hypocrites.
Yes.
It's just hypocrites.
It's a prejudice. It's real.
Yeah. And before you know it, we'll end up taking hostages. How do you get out of a hostage situation? I never know. Terrible. Awful to look at the news today.
It's really Brutal, man.
Coming up tonight here on Opie Radio, check out Robert Kelly, Unmasked at 11 p.m., replaying again on Sunday here, and you can hear that all weekend long on Raw Dog as well. I want to tell the folks in the New York area that there is a great pub crawl going on. Light of Day charity organization helps fight Parkinson's. Rick Shapiro, Artie Lang, Robert Kelly, Todd Berry, Rich Voss, Big J. Okerson, Greer Barnes, I can't follow Greer Barnes, Mike Pichetti, Kurt Metzger, Bonnie McFarland, Godfrey, Mike Vecchione. The list goes on and on. You can see them at New York Comedy Club, Stand Up New York, and the Village Underground. Go over to the interrobang.com to get all the details of that. Oh, we got to wrap this one up. Gail, thanks for hanging out today.
Thanks for having me.
Good stuff. This show will be back February 6th.
I'm going to jot that down.
Yeah. Don't jot it. Put it into your phone.
I will.
And coming up on the Ron and Fez show today, you can hear Robert Kelly Unmasked. That's it for us, guys. Have a great weekend. See you a little later on the Ron and Fez show. Just don't even watch the TV. You can't fix it from here anyway. Just try to have a nice weekend. It's all football. See you next time.
You've been listening to Bennington, only on Opie Radio, XM 103, Sirius 206. You can listen